My name is Spencer Garrett. I'm 26, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. 1 month after my master's graduation, where not a single family member bothered to show up, my phone lit up with Mom. I actually smiled for half a second, thinking she was finally calling to say sorry. Instead, the second I answered, she launched straight in. Hey, I need you to send $3,000 today. It's for your little brother's 3-week Europe trip with his friends. I was so stunned I barely got the words out. Wait, why wasn't I invited? Her voice turned ice cold. Stop asking questions. Just send the money. Click. She was gone. That was the exact moment something inside me snapped, and that same night, while the rest of Phoenix was sleeping, I made the move that ended my relationship with my family for good. If you've ever felt like you were the only one in your family who didn't belong, hit that like button right now and stay until the very end, because what I did next still shocks people when I tell them. Drop your city in the comments so I know you're here, and let's get into it. To understand why that one phone call completely broke me, I have to take you all the way back to the very beginning. I grew up in a typical stucco house in a North Phoenix neighborhood where every front yard had a saguaro cactus, and the mailboxes all looked identical. For the first 7 years of my life, I was the only kid, and that meant I got 100% of my parents' attention. Mom Kathleen Garrett worked part-time at a title company, but she still managed to be room mom every year, show up to every school play with homemade cupcakes, and sit on the floor reading with me for hours. Dad, Derek Garrett, was a site supervisor for a home builder, and on weekends he'd take me to job sites, let me wear a little hard hat, and teach me how to read blueprints before I could even spell the word. Family dinners were loud, and happy vacations were to San Diego every summer, and I honestly believed I had the best parents in the world. Then my little brother Jackson Garrett arrived the summer I turned 7, and it felt like someone flipped a switch. Mom took extended leave that turned permanent. Dad started picking up weekend shifts. The house that used to revolve around my soccer schedule suddenly revolved around colic teething and baby sign language classes. At first, I thought it was temporary. Babies are a lot of work, right? But the temporary never ended. By the time Jackson was walking, my bedroom had been converted into a playroom because the baby needs more space. My old toys went into storage for when Jackson is big enough to appreciate them. Mom's phone wallpaper changed from a picture of me at my first grade graduation to a non-stop rotation of Jackson's face. I learned fast that if I wanted anything, I had to handle it myself. When I needed new cleats in 4th grade, Mom was at the pediatrician with Jackson for the 3rd time that week, so I walked to the sporting goods store with my birthday cash and bought them alone. When I made the honor choir and had a concert on a Friday night, Dad couldn't come because Jackson had a 102 fever. Instead, I recorded it on my flip phone and watched it by myself later. Middle school spelling bees science fair regionals, the time I won first chair violin. None of those ever made it onto the family calendar because something with Jackson always came up. I stopped asking after a while. I just started doing everything solo so nobody had to choose between us. By 13, I was waking up at 5:30 to catch the public bus across town to the magnet high school that offered better classes. I did my own laundry, cooked dinner 3 nights a week when Mom was too tired from chasing a preschooler, and tutored other kids after school to save for a laptop because the family computer was always occupied by Jackson's learning games. Teachers called me mature beyond my years. Friends thought my parents were super chill because they never enforced curfews. They never realized I didn't have curfews because nobody noticed when I came home. High school got worse. I was captain of the debate team, editor of the yearbook, and graduated valedictorian with a 4.7 GPA, but my own parents missed the ceremony because Jackson had a travel baseball tournament in Vegas that same weekend. Mom sent a text that just said, "So proud, honey," with a heart emoji. That was it. When acceptances came in, I got full rides to every UC school I applied to. I sat my parents down at the kitchen table and told them I'd been accepted to Berkeley with enough scholarship money to cover everything. Dad looked up from his phone long enough to say, "That's awesome, Spencer. Really takes the pressure off the college fund we've been building for Jackson." Mom nodded enthusiastically and added, "Exactly. Now we won't have to worry when it's his turn." They said it like they were congratulating me, but all I heard was confirmation that every dollar they'd ever saved had always been earmarked for the child they actually valued. I packed my bags the week after graduation, hugged them goodbye in the driveway while Jackson played Fortnite inside, and flew to California with zero intention of ever looking back the same way again. When college started, everything finally felt like it was mine. I landed in Berkeley with one goal: build a life where nobody could treat me like an afterthought ever again. The campus was huge, the classes were brutal, and for the first time I had to figure out how to pay for food and rent without a single dollar from home. I picked up 3 jobs my freshman year: early morning barista shifts before 8 a.m. lectures, tutoring calculus on weekday evenings, and weekend catering gigs in San Francisco that paid cash tips. By sophomore year, I added a paid research position with a finance professor who saw something in me. Sleep became whatever minutes I could steal between closing the cafe and opening my laptop, but I loved every second because every paycheck was proof I could survive on my own. The finance program was intense, and I threw myself into it. I interned every summer, first at a credit union in Oakland, then at a boutique investment firm in the city, and finally at one of the big banks downtown. My resume started looking like something recruiters fought over, and I graduated undergrad with honors, zero debt, and a full-time offer in hand. Instead of stopping there, I enrolled straight into the master's program because the bank had a tuition reimbursement deal. 2 more years of night classes, group projects, and 16-hour days followed, but the finish line kept me going. I still flew home for Thanksgiving and Christmas because plane tickets were the one thing I couldn't say no to when Mom sent them. Every visit was the same script. The house smelled like whatever new diet Jackson was on for baseball season. The fridge was covered with his practice schedules and recruiting letters, and every dinner conversation circled back to his batting average or which college coaches had messaged him that week. I'd sit there with my new job title and 6-figure bonus news burning in my throat, but nobody ever asked. If I tried to mention work, Mom would cut in with, "That's nice, honey, but listen to this. Jackson got invited to a showcase in Florida. I learned to keep quiet and help with dishes so I could leave the table faster." 3 months before my master's graduation, I sent the official invitation to the whole family, complete with the ceremony, time, venue, and a list of nearby hotels. I even offered to pay for their flights. Mom texted back 2 days later, "We're so proud of you, but that weekend is the state basketball tournament for Jackson. He made varsity as a sophomore. It's a huge deal. We can't miss it." Dad added a thumbs-up emoji and nothing else. I stared at my phone in the middle of a trading floor surrounded by people screaming numbers and felt completely empty. Graduation day hit 112 degrees in Phoenix. I had flown in the night before just to walk across that stage. The ceremony was outdoors because the arena was booked, so we all baked under the Arizona sun in black gowns. Row after row of families cheered, waved signs, and took a million pictures. I scanned the audience the entire time and saw 0 familiar faces. When my name was called, the applause felt polite and distant. I crossed the stage, shook the dean's hand, and posed for the professional photographer alone. After the ceremony, I found a random international student who spoke broken English and asked him to take a few photos of me holding my diploma in front of the university sign. He smiled, snapped the pictures, and walked away. That was it. My master's degree, 6 years of grinding, and the only witness was a stranger who didn't even know my name. I sat in my rental car with the AC blasting, scrolling through Instagram while the leather seat burned my legs. Everyone else was posting pictures with their parents, siblings, grandparents, big groups hugging and crying happy tears. My feed had nothing. No tags, no stories, no mention I even existed. I drove to In-N-Out, ate a double-double in the parking lot, and flew back to California that same night because staying longer felt pointless. 1 month after that empty graduation day, everything exploded. I was back in Phoenix full-time now, working long hours as a junior analyst at a private equity firm downtown. Most nights I didn't leave the office until 9 or 10, then grabbed takeout and collapsed in my one-bedroom apartment near Camelback Mountain. It was late June, the kind of Arizona heat that makes the air shimmer even after sunset, and I remember kicking off my heels and pouring a glass of wine when my phone started ringing with Mom's name on the screen. I hadn't heard from her since the single congrats text on graduation day, 7 months of total silence, so I actually felt a flicker of hope when I answered. "Hey, sweetheart." She started sounding rushed like she was walking through the house. "I need a quick favor. Can you Venmo me $3,000 tonight? Jackson and his friends booked this incredible 3-week Europe trip for right after senior year ends, and the final deposit is due tomorrow morning." I set my glass down so hard the wine sloshed onto the counter. $3,000, I repeated, making sure I heard right. "For Jackson's vacation." "Yes, exactly," she said, like it was the most normal request in the world. "It's London, Paris, Barcelona, the whole thing. They got a group rate, but the travel agency needs the last payment up front, or they lose the spots." I stood there in my kitchen barefoot on the tile, trying to process what I was hearing. "Mom, I just finished grad school. You guys didn't even come to my ceremony. And now the first time you call in 7 months is to ask me for $3,000 for Jackson's senior trip." She sighed the way she always did when I brought up anything about myself. "Spencer, this isn't about that. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for your brother before college starts. His friends' parents are all chipping in." "So why isn't Dad covering it?" I asked, my voice already shaking. "Dad's bonus got delayed because of some project overrun, and we're a little tight this month. It's not a big deal. You make good money now." I closed my eyes and gripped the edge of the counter. "Mom, am I even invited on this trip?" There was a long pause, long enough that I thought the call dropped. Then she let out this sharp laugh, the same one she used when I was a kid, and asked for something unreasonable. "Spencer, it's a trip for the kids. Jackson and his teammates. You're 26. You have a full-time job. Why would you want to tag along on a teenager trip because he's my brother?" I said, hearing how small my voice sounded. "Because maybe I thought family did things together. Stop asking questions." She snapped, all the fake sweetness gone. "You're grown now. You don't need to be included in everything. Just send the money so Jackson doesn't lose his spot. I knew you'd understand." I opened my mouth to argue, to scream, to say anything, but before a single word came out, she added, "I have to go. Jackson needs help picking hostels." "Thanks, honey." Click. The line went dead. I stood frozen in my kitchen while the air conditioner hummed and the pool lights flickered outside my window. $3,000 for a vacation I wasn't even invited to. 7 months of silence broken only because they needed cash, and the second I asked why I was excluded, I got shut down like I was being dramatic. I looked at my phone, still showing 32 seconds on the call timer, and something inside me went completely cold. That night I sat motionless on my couch for what felt like hours, wine-untouched city lights blinking through the blinds. The silence in the apartment was so loud it hurt. My mind kept replaying every single moment from the past 19 years like a highlight reel of rejection. The birthdays where only Jackson got the big cake, the Christmases, where my gifts were practical, while his were extravagant, the way Mom and Dad clapped loudest at his games, and never once made it to my academic banquets. I had spent my entire life shrinking myself so there would be enough room for him in their hearts, and the second I dared to ask for the smallest scrap of inclusion, I was told to stop asking questions. I picked up my phone again, hands shaking, and opened Instagram out of pure masochism. Jackson's story had a new countdown sticker Europe with the boys. 28 days. I tapped through and saw group photos from their planning party last weekend, all his baseball buddies holding mock boarding passes, mom and dad right in the middle grinning like proud parents of the groom. The next story was a video of mom helping the boys pick out backpacks at REI, laughing about how many protein bars to pack. Not a single frame included me, not even a mention. I went deeper and found the private group chat they'd been accidentally added to months ago and never left Jackson's Europe Squad 2024. Over 200 members, parents, cousins, teammates, and right there in the pinned message were mom and dad listed as emergency contacts and backup payers. They had been active in the chat for weeks, posting hotel options, excursion ideas, and even joking about sneaking the boys extra spending money. I scrolled until my thumb cramped and realized I had never been considered not even as an afterthought. Something inside me broke wide open. I started crying so hard I couldn't breathe, ugly heaving sobs that scared even me. Without thinking, I scrolled to the one person who had never let me down and hit call. My grandma Norma Jean Holt picked up on the second ring, her Florida voice warm and raspy from years of cigarettes. She swore she quit. "Spencer, honey, it's almost midnight here. Everything okay?" I broke down and told her everything. The skipped graduation, the $3,000 ask, the group chat, all of it. She listened without interrupting, which somehow made me cry harder. When I finally ran out of words, she was quiet for a long moment, then said softly, "Baby girl, there's something you need to know." She explained that the summer I turned 18, right before I left for college, mom and dad had filled out paperwork naming me the successor owner on the 529 college savings plan they started when I was born. It was a box they checked without much thought because I was heading to school, and they wanted to save on taxes. They always planned to switch it back to themselves once Jackson got closer to college, but life got busy, and they simply forgot. Grandma had been with them at the financial advisor's office that day and remembered the detail clearly. "So right now," she continued, "you are the legal owner of that account. Not your parents. You. And last I heard, there's still about $68,000 in it." I stopped crying. The room went perfectly still. "You're sure?" I whispered. "Positive, sweetheart. I have the paperwork scanned if you need it." I hung up, opened my laptop with shaking fingers, and logged into the old 529 portal using the username and password I hadn't touched in 8 years. The balance stared back at me, $68,412.63. Owner, Spencer Garrett. Successor owner, none needed. My name sat alone at the top of the account in bold letters. All these years they'd been counting on money that legally already belonged to me. That same night, my best friend Reese Addison, who was doing her clerkship at a wealth management law firm downtown, showed up at my door less than 20 minutes after I texted her SOS. She walked in still wearing her courthouse blazer, took one look at my red eyes and the open 529 portal on my laptop, and immediately pulled the second dining chair up next to me. Reese had been my ride or die since freshman orientation at Berkeley. She knew every detail of my family history and had watched me pretend it didn't hurt for years. I didn't have to explain much. I just turned the screen toward her and let the numbers speak. She read the account summary twice, then started nodding slowly. "Okay. Listen carefully," she said, already pulling up the Arizona Revised Statutes and the IRS 529 guidelines on her phone. "Because you are the successor owner and over 24, your parents no longer have unilateral control. Federal rules and Arizona law both allow the owner to change the beneficiary at any time without the previous beneficiary's consent, and they specifically allow the owner to name themselves as the new beneficiary. Once that change is processed, you can request a qualified distribution for any past or future higher education expense you can document, and the rest can come out as a non-qualified distribution, with only the earnings portion taxed, plus a 10% penalty. That's it. No co-signature required." I stared at her while the words sank in. You're telling me I can take every penny tonight and there's nothing they can do? Legally, yes, she answered, scrolling faster. The platform will let you submit the beneficiary change form online instantly. Distribution requests usually take 3 to 7 business days to hit your bank, but the second you lock the beneficiary as yourself, they can't touch it anymore. It was 11:27 p.m. on a Thursday. Reese kicked off her heels, opened her firm's secure VPN on my laptop, and walked me through every field. We uploaded my driver's license, my social security card, and a scanned copy of the successor owner paperwork Grandma Norma had emailed 5 minutes earlier. By 11:42, the beneficiary officially read Spencer Garrett instead of Jackson Garrett. At 11:49, I submitted 2 distribution requests, one for $45,000 marked as reimbursement for my master's tuition. I still had the receipts, and another for the remaining $23,000 as non-qualified. The confirmation pages popped up immediately. Account locked. Processing. Reese closed the laptop, handed me a fresh glass of water, and said the sentence I'll never forget. You just took back 19 years in 19 minutes. I opened my phone and went straight to settings. Mom blocked. Dad blocked. Jackson blocked. The extended family group chat left and blocked. Every social media account they had blocked and unfollowed. I turned off read receipts, disabled location sharing, and switched my Instagram to private. When the screen finally went dark, the apartment felt quieter than it ever had. 5 business days later, on a Tuesday morning while I was in a client meeting, my banking app pinged with 2 deposits that totaled $68,412.63. I excused myself to the hallway, leaned against the wall, and let the reality wash over me. The money they had saved my entire life, the money they had openly admitted was waiting for Jackson's future, was now sitting in an account that only had my name on it. I texted Reese a simple heart emoji. She replied instantly, "Coffee after work." You owe me a latte for the fastest pro bono consult in history. I never answered another call, text, or email from anyone in that house again. 2 years later, I'm sitting in the home office of the 2-bedroom condo I bought last spring in Arcadia, recording this story for all of you. Life looks nothing like it did that night. I'm now a senior financial analyst at the same firm, running models for 8-figure deals and mentoring the new analysts who once sat where I did. My name is on the short list for vice president next cycle, and last month I closed on this place: 3 bedrooms, mountain views, and a kitchen big enough to host Thanksgiving without feeling like I'm intruding on someone else's family. In 8 weeks, I'm marrying my fiancé Lauren Carter, the corporate litigator who stole my heart at a charity gala 18 months ago. The only family member walking me down the aisle will be Grandma Norma, flying in from Florida with a new hat and the biggest smile you've ever seen. As for the people I left behind, the consequences rolled in faster than any of us expected. The morning the distribution hit my account, Mom tried to transfer the final $9,000 from the 529 to the tour company. Instead, she got an error message that the account no longer existed. By noon, the travel agency charged the full cancellation penalty plus the non-refundable deposit they had already paid. $9,000 gone in a single day. Dad's credit cards were declined when he tried to cover the difference because they had been counting on that exact money to float the rest of the summer. Without the college fund, Jackson lost every scholarship package that required proof of financial planning. He ended up at Phoenix College, our local community campus, living at home and working nights at a sporting goods store, plus weekends delivering for DoorDash. I heard from a mutual high school friend that he finally saved enough to transfer to Arizona State next semester, but only because he's on the 5-year plan now instead of 4. Mom's real estate business took the hardest hit. She had been riding the 2023-2024 Phoenix boom, flipping houses with heavy margin loans and high-interest bridge financing. When the market cooled and rates shot up, several deals fell apart at once. The lost $9,000 was the final domino. She couldn't close escrow on 2 properties, defaulted on the loans, and the banks foreclosed. By spring of last year, the only option left was to sell the family house, at a loss just to stop the bleeding. They moved 2 hours south to Tucson, and now rent a spare bedroom from Mom's older sister. I know this because the listing photos popped up on my Zillow feed one random Tuesday. I stared at pictures of the kitchen where I used to do homework alone and felt absolutely nothing. Mom found my work email, somehow probably LinkedIn, and sent a message 6 months ago that still sits unread in a folder I created called Do Not Open. Reese forwarded me the subject line, "Once we are your family and we are suffering, please talk to us." I never clicked. There have been no more attempts since. I didn't destroy them. I didn't have to. Their choices over 2 decades. Every skipped event, every dollar earmarked only for Jackson, every time they told me I didn't need to be included because I was the responsible one, built the exact outcome they're living now. When the one child they never invested in finally stopped subsidizing the child, they poured everything into the whole fragile system, collapsed under its own weight. That's not revenge. That's physics. So here's what I want anyone watching to take away. You are allowed to protect your peace, even from the people who gave you your last name. Being born into a family does not obligate you to stay in a dynamic that diminishes you. Sometimes the healthiest, kindest thing you can do for yourself, and in the long run for them, is to step away and let natural consequences do the teaching you never could. If this story hit close to home, please drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to draw a boundary with family? How did it turn out? I read every single one, and your stories help others feel less alone. If you know someone stuck in the butt, their family trap, share this video. Sometimes hearing it from a stranger is the push they need. Thank you truly for staying until the very end. It means the world that you let me tell you my truth. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, turn on the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. I didn't break my family. They lost me a long time ago. Walking away was simply the inevitable result.